So, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon because you have the wavelength of light, light from the sun, light from light bulbs in your house. The wavelength of light actually sends a signal, a frequency to the optic nerve, which sends a signal to this nucleus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which signals the sympathetic nervous system, which signals the pineal gland. You start making serotonin, and that kind of gets you up, gets your brainwave going. You're moving to beta. You're kind of alert, and then at night, the absence of light or the inhibition of light slows brainwaves down, and the brain chemistry starts responding to a change in the pineal gland. Takes serotonin and goes through just a real simple process and makes melatonin. And so the function of the way we live in this three-dimensional environment with visible light creates a rhythm called the circadian rhythm. So we're up during the day and we sleep during the night, we dream, we repair, all that stuff. And so when you begin to activate these latent systems, Luke, when energy begins to interact with those latent systems, and the pineal gland has those little tiny calcite crystals, and they're rhombohedron in shape, and they're stacked up on top of each other. And they're in our pineal glands. Everybody has them in there. And when we do that breath and we hold our breath and we begin to contract, pump, and pull those intrinsic muscles in, it's the activation of those crystals, because the mechanical stress that we're putting against it as we hold our breath and pump begins to produce what's called a piezoelectric effect. Now mechanical stress is turning into an electrical charge. Now it's electrically activated, so energy is going to move that direction. So then, if you do this properly and you begin to electrically activate those crystals, they begin to shimmer like a radio receiver. And if you can suppress the neocortex by dialing down the brain waves into a low level of alpha and even theta, and the person knows how to be conscious in their subconscious mind, and now the antenna's on, now you got to learn how to use it. You got to learn how to tune into frequencies and energies. And so how much time do we put our attention on matter in a waking day, and how much of our attention we put on energy? Very little attention on energy. So this is an opportunity for people to begin to learn how to use the dial and begin to tune into frequency. So when their brain is in theta, they're very suggestible to information, but that information is not coming from their three-dimensional world. The information is coming from frequency, because frequency carries information. So the pineal gland now is electrically activated. It's tuning in when someone locks into it while something cool happens. All of a sudden now, it transduces that frequency like a TV antenna into pictures. So all of a sudden now your brain goes lucid, and you start having profound imagery. Now, when you use plant medicines, the derivatives from the plant medicine fit in the same receptor sites of serotonin and melatonin. Kind of serotonin receptors begin to become fooled a little bit, or at least altered. In this case now, when all of a sudden melatonin is present because the person has their eyes closed and they're in a meditation, and they're there and they're deep into it, all of a sudden now, when the pineal gland begins to interact with a frequency that's faster than the speed of light. Yeah, quantum, right? Equals MC squared.
Wow.
Anything that travels at the speed of light material is going to turn into energy. So now you're using the radio receiver to process a different frequency. Well, frequency carries information, so now melatonin is no longer melatonin. The pineal gland is receiving information, not from our senses, our neocortex is dialed way down, but from the field. And now all of a sudden, when it's transduced into profound imagery, what is the physics of that connects us to our biology? And all of a sudden now, melatonin all of a sudden starts to produce an upgraded chemical, an altered chemical, a derivative, a metabolite. And so it produces two of the most powerful antioxidants known to man: anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. That's what the pineal does. Melatonin's already a antioxidant, but now we got an upgraded, really powerful antioxidant. You take that molecule, you tweak it again, you get a benzodiazepine. What's that? Well, it's Valium. So melatonin already chills you out, but now you're going to get chilled out a lot. And it's those chemicals that begin to further suppress the neocortex into a slower brainwave pattern of theta. Then it begins to sedate the thinking brain. It dials down the survival centers in the amygdala. Now the person can relax, really relax in the present moment and rest and not feel like there's a predator always somewhere around the corner, a problem around the corner. That vigilance is diminished. You take the melatonin, you tweak it again, and you got the same chemical found in hibernating animals. No sex drive, no appetite, no preoccupation with the environment, first 3 centers of the body. So now they're shut off, drives are turned down, and now the body's no longer the mind. It's in stasis. It's in a place where it can dream, it can create. It's in a perfect place. Take the molecule, tweak it again, and you got the same chemical found in electric eels. Now you got a nervous system that's going to produce much more energy, much more amplitudes of energy, and we see that in our brain scans during this transcendental moment. These are all fitting to the same receptor sites, but now it's just not one molecule. You're getting at least 5 or 6. And you take that molecule, tweak it again, you get dimethyltryptamine. It's the same chemical found in ayahuasca, but now your pineal gland is actually fabricating it. And now melatonin already causes you to dream, but you're going to lucid dream. You're going to get switched on, and you're going to have a full-on sensory experience between your ears. It's going to feel like more real than anything you experienced in your life. And that brain goes into a gamma brainwave state in super coherent, highly organized gamma brainwave patterns, and the autonomic nervous system now is on fire. And it's processing, and the autonomic nervous system is controlling, coordinating all those systems. It's keeping blood flow going, and vasodilation, and gene expression, and hormones, and enzymes, and digestion, and all those things happening, the automatic system. Now it's processing a more coherent, rhythmic, very fast frequency that's sending a very coherent message to all the cells and tissues and organs of the body. And the person's feeling something that's physical, but and yet it's not. It's not an emotion, it's electromagnetism and energy. And it's that kind of energy that causes them to have an upgrade either in the way they think or an upgrade in the way they feel, because the experience rewires the circuitry in the brain, and experience produces a new signal to the body, but the signal is not chemical, it's electrical. And now the person is more coherent, their biology is more organized, and so now they evolved. And so when they open their eyes and they return back to life, they're going to have a broader spectrum of reality, because their brain is now wired to perceive, but it's always existed. But they didn't have the circuits to perceive it until they had that in an experience.
Right. It's interesting how you talk about the use of kaleidoscopes, and that visual, the fractal patterns, and that's something that is obviously inherent to psychedelic experience. But I've also had experiences like that doing really deep breath work, and especially with those long holds when you're holding the spine and activating the center of your brain, and all of a sudden, you're seeing all these. And so with this biochemical and light reaction and everything is happening, I'm assuming that this is very fertile ground for transforming the way you perceive your life and the way that you interact with your environment, right?
Yes.
The manifestation potential in this place is like you're the artist creating your life rather than your life circumstances creating.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because all those fractal patterns are just information. Trees, everything we're seeing is information, but that's all sensory information material. Now an area awakens, and now you're seeing information, but it's not going to be physical. It's very organized.